Using third-party stories in the selling process. Third-party stories are one of the most powerful tools we have in communicating with our prospects and our customers. So what does this look like? Very often, whether you're on an initial phone call, a consult A, a consult B, or steps 1 through 4, doesn't matter. Every interaction with a customer requires that we walk away from there with no mutual mystification, and stories are one of the best ways to communicate that. I'm just going to share one story that I share oftentimes, especially early on when talking about budgets and what things cost, and working towards agreement on paying budget and decision. I had a customer a few years back that came to me and wanted to remodel their basement. It's a pretty nice project. The budget range ended up being between 85, I think, and 95,000. Customer came back to me and he said, "Well, I've got an estimate for 60,000." And at that time, I pushed back a little bit, and but customer really wasn't willing to move. They had been referred by another friend of theirs in the neighborhood, and at this point, I didn't get the sale. Well, fast forward about a year, I get a phone call from the guy. He calls me back and he's asking me if I'll come in and finish their basement. Wow. I started asking questions. Well, tell me more about that and what's going on. And he proceeded to tell me that the job had started. Their price was about $60,000. And they got going well, but then they stopped coming and stopped replying, and then they would get certain parts of it done, but it went on for 6 or 7 months. And really at the end, the customer was not satisfied, and there was things that needed to be fixed, and he wanted finished. I mean, he paid to get his job finished. As I began to ask questions, I asked him, I said, "Well, originally I'm just curious, how much did you end up paying for this basement?" And he went on to tell me that it ended up costing him around $90,000. I said, "How did you get there?" He said, "Well, there was a lot of allowances, and things would end up costing more for labor and materials. And at the end, there was change orders that happened that brought it up to about $90,000. Needless to say, the customer wasn't happy and wished that he had not gone with the other company. So I use that story to tell you guys that it's really important to use those third-party stories. I got a ton of them. I'll share more of them, but that's just one. And you guys have a ton of them. You've ran into things over the years where people interpreted something one way. So when we're in that position and they're telling us about another customer, go for the last look. Go for getting a hold of the estimates that they've gotten from competitors. It's a real advantage for us to be able to sit down with a customer and maybe help them understand what's the difference between what we hear them saying they want, maybe what their estimate is, and how our process of using the project development agreement and then going through our steps 1 through 4 and getting to a fixed priced agreement where we can keep people's projects on time and on budget is a much more realistic and effective way so that their time is not wasted and they don't go through a lot of pain that they otherwise don't need to.